My voice is clear or not?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today we're starting about the duties of the registered medical practitioner. In last lecture, we have highlighted about the rights of registered medical practitioner. So, in first few minutes, we'll revise about the rights of registered medical practitioner, which has been covered in the last lecture. So the right of a registered medical practitioner, first is to choose the patient. Second is to use title of qualification of his degree, appointment in public and private hospital, right to prescribe and dispense medicine, right to realize fees and other expenses, right to issue medical certificates and reports, evidence in court of law, right to be exempted as acting as a juror, removal of organs from a dead body for organ transplantation, right to use Red Cross emblem, right to perform medical termination of pregnancy. In last lecture, we have elaborated and deeply covered about the rights of registered medical practitioner. Now, in today's lecture, we'll concentrate on the duties of registered medical practitioner. So,
रोजच राहते का रात्री म्हणजे आता पिण्यास का मला बापरे
first, the duties are broadly divided into duties and responsibilities of the physician in general. Second, duties of physician to their patients, duties of physician in consultation, responsibility of physician to each other, and duties of physician to the public and to other paramedical profession. So broadly, duties of a registered medical practitioner has been divided into 5 parts. First and foremost is the duties and responsibilities of the physician in general. Second is duties of a physician to their patient. Third is duties of a physician in consultation, responsibilities of the physician to each other, and duties of physician to the public and to the paramedical profession. So today we are going to learn in detail about each duty. First duty, that is duties in general. First sentence is very important, and throughout your life, you should always remember this sentence that a physician shall uphold the dignity and honor of his profession. The prime object of a medical profession is to render service to humanity, and financial gain is a subordinate consideration. These two sentences you should always remember in your life, because our profession is a noble profession and we all are considered as next to God by the society. Why this honor is given to us? Because these two sentences describe our duties in detail. What is duty? First and foremost important duty that we all physicians shall uphold the dignity and honor of this profession. Second, that is the service to humanity, and whatever financial gains are the secondary. Third important, physician should be an upright man and instructed or skilled in the art of healing. We should be so skilled that whenever the patient comes with his diseases, we should have proper knowledge and skill. With that, we should able to be a skillful person in the art of healing. Physician should keep himself in pure in character and diligent in caring for the sick. He should be modest, sober, patient, prompt in discharging his duty without anxiety. So these important 5 to 6 sentences describe the important duties of the physician. And in many my lectures, I always insist that we are gaining a much more respect from the society. Nowadays, it's declining, but still, it's India and all people now in this COVID crisis also, from the Prime Minister up to the layman, all have a good respect for the doctors. And now with this crisis, what is the importance of a physician or a doctor in a society? All are knowing. So, withholding this respect, we have to also perform our duties up to the mark. And when we are going to perform our duties up to the mark, then all these things that we are next to God, it's a noble profession, it's a service to the humanity, all things will ultimately come. So as my student, you all should concentrate on this important point that is the service to the humanity, and we should be skillful in art of healing. For this, what we have to do? We have to always, because from this COVID crisis only, new viruses has come. In us, not in a single book, this virus is mentioned. What is treatment? You all know that up to till date, there is not a confirmed treatment. The clinical trials are going on about chloroquine and all these things, but there is not 100% curative treatment of the COVID. So our science has its own limitation. And after 6 months, 1 year, there will be the research. And that for that, we also have to update our knowledge. So whatever the after MBBS, you may become a society like Indian Medical Association, IMA membership, or if you have become a specialist like gynecologist or physician, then there are the different societies of each subject. So like that, you have to become a member of that particular specialty. And in general, you should be always a member of a IMA, that is Indian Medical Association. So that you should have a membership of a different medical society. In Maharashtra, after each 5 years, you have to renew your registration. And for the renewal of your registration, Maharashtra Medical Council has made that you should have 30 hours of a continuous medical education program. Most of the students in this last year, we have conducted one CME of a legal aspect of a medical practice. Like that, all in our college, from each department, there is different CMEs. Each CME, Maharashtra Medical Council grants some these hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, depending upon the quality and the hours of the CME, days of the CME, they give points. So each medical practitioner, registered medical practitioner, has to attend the CMEs. They will get the certificate, and nowadays with the digitalization, that certificate gets or that point gets automatically uploaded in the profile of that registered medical practitioner. So each registered medical practitioner should do continuous, that is CME programs, at least for 30 hours in a 5 years. Is it clear? Is it clear? Can I proceed? Next important, maintenance of a medical record. There are two types of the patient, that is OPD patient, IPD patient. OPD means outpatient department, that the patient comes for a minor thing, the registered medical practitioner advises some medicine or whatever the small thing of a treatment, small operation. After that, that patient goes to the home on that day only. So that is the OPD basis patient. Sometimes the disease is of a moderate or severe type, then that patient has to get admitted in the hospital, and that patient is called as an IPD patient. So the record of each patient should be maintained by that hospital or that by the, if there is a small clinic, by that registered medical practice. Whenever the patient asks the record, then you have to give that record within 72 hours after the request of a patient. And how much time the IPD or OPD record should be kept at the hospital, that the first, if the patient is OPD, then it should be kept up to 1 year, and if the patient is of IPD type, that record should be kept up to 3 years. And if that case is a medico-legal case means there is something illegal, is there, like if you suspect some suicidal attempt or accident or homicidal, or you have some suspicion, that case becomes a medico-legal case, and medico-legal case record should be kept up to the case, whatever the, up to that case goes in a court. So there is no time limit to keep a medico-legal record. For a non-MLC cases, you have to store IPD for 3 years and OPD for 1 year. Whenever a patient asks you for his record, his or her record, you have to generate that record within 72 hours. Now in practical, you always learn the different certificate. Up till now, we have covered A certificate, medical certificate, certification of cause of death, medical sickness certificate, medical fitness certificate, physical fitness, like these certificates. And in this certificate, you have to take the identification mark. So at least 2 identification marks should be kept. How to take identification mark? How to write a proper identification mark? Which marks can be taken as an identification mark, like scar mark. Cannot be taken. I have explained in my lecture in identity, because it changes its shape and size as the life progresses. But in a scar, there is no change in the size and shape. That's why scar mark can be taken as an identification mark. Mole, some congenital marks, or tattoo marks can be taken as a proper identification mark. So each certificate you have to write at least two identification marks, or you have to take a left thumb impression on that certificate. So it's the mandatory. And effort should be taken to make all the records computerized. Nowadays, more or less in every hospital, the records are computerized. In the clinic of the registered medical practitioner or on his board, there should be a display of his registration number. So like that, my number registration is 2000/2 1355. So like that, registration number should be displayed on a clinic. Then physician should write degrees which are recognized by a proper medical council or by other councils. So that should be the authentic one. Otherwise, 2 hour small certificate, that is not or that should not be written in front of the name. Only like MBBS, MD, DNB, other diplomas or 1 year course, hospital management, MBA, like that, you can write a authentic degrees you have taken. Small certificate, or you have attended one CME, like that you should write that I attended like this. That should not be written. If it is of at least 6 month course or more than 6 month course, that you can write in front of your name. Use of generic name. As far as possible, should write the generic name. Like whatever in pharmacology, whatever you have learned about the drug name, that drug name should be written, because that drug can be manufactured by different in the pharmaceutical industry, and each company gives its own name. So that is the commercial name. But you should write the generic. So with a generic name, and now Government of India is also insisting about that. Then there is some amendment has been done in year 2016, October 8th October 2016, by this Medical Council of India, that every physician should prescribe drugs with generic names, and it should be legibly and preferably in capital letters, and he or she shall ensure that there is a rational prescription and use of drug. Why in bold I have written it? Because there is much more criticism on doctors that our handwriting is not the illegible handwriting, and with the many times the patient cannot read it, at what time it should be taken, or pharmacist cannot read. For that reason, that should be in a legible handwriting and in a capital letter. If it is in a legible handwriting and a capital letter, so it can be read by patient for his at what time it should be taken, or at what frequency it should be taken. Like that, he should be able to understand. So it should be in a legible handwriting and in a capital letter. Remember this. Again, as a physician, we should always assure the highest quality of patient care. For that, we should not have association with the other member, like a technician or other hospital staff, which is not qualified as per the rules. So we should not appoint in our hospital the technician, nurses, or other paramedical staff which has not taken a proper education or training. So whatever in small hospital, what happens in a rural area, there is the again scarcity of all these trained paramedical staff. So at that time, they appoint those who doesn't have the proper training. But to uphold the quality of our profession, we should always appoint the person who has taken proper training and has a proper degree or diploma as a technician or a nurse. If you feel that your colleague is doing some unethical act or some our medical professional is doing unethical act, without fear you should expose. Why? To maintain a dignity and highest quality of a medical. Again, same thing, that repetition of this sentence is there, that the first duty of a physician is to render the service to the humanity, and financial gains are a secondary. You can take your proper fees, whatever the fees you are taking should be displaced on your OPD, so that patient should know about it. There should be, it is unethical to enter into a contract of no cure, no payment. So it's the medical science. As a registered medical practitioner, you should give highest quality of the treatment and try to cure that disease. But you should not tell that I will not take a single money from you if you are not get cured. It's the unethical act. And as a general, physician should observe different laws which are related to the medical profession, like that Drugs and Cosmetic Act, Pharmacy Act, Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substance Act, Mental Health Act, Environmental Protection Act, Prenatal Sex and Preconceptional Sex Determination Act 1994, Drug and Magic Remedies Act, Disability Act, Medical Termination of the Pregnancy Act, Human Organ Transplantation Act. So all these acts should be obeyed by registered medical practitioner. If you disobey, there is a punishment for that. So these all are the important duties of a registered medical practitioner in relation with his practice. And these are come under your first heading, that is the duties and responsibilities of the physician in general. Is it clear? Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the second is duties of a physician to their patient. So we have divided duties into the 5 main headings. First, we have learned in detail about duties and responsibilities of a physician in general. So in that, we have learned about the different things, like you should uphold the dignity of a profession, should keep medical records properly, should do 30 hours CMEs within 5 years, then should not appoint untrained, unqualified person, and you should expose unethical act. And also you have to obey law and order, as well as whatever there are different laws related to the medical profession. Now, second is duties of a physician to their patient. So, we'll proceed about the duties of a physician to their patient. So, obligation to the sick. in last lecture I explained you that physician is not bound to treat each and every patient. But in emergency, he has to give the treatment irrespective of his specialty. And at that time, whenever a person or patient asks for the treatment, you should always give a primary aids, whatever the you know, or whatever you can help to him. And after that, you can refer that patient to the tertiary center or a specialist. Patient delicacy and secrets. During your examination with history, his signs, symptoms, when you are doing the physical examination, you get some the confidential points about the patient, secret points about the patient. At that time, you should, as a doctor, because with a trust that patient has told you about his secret. So to uphold the dignity of a profession, and we are next to God, we always have to keep this secret with you only. Don't divulge the secrets. When the colleagues are sitting and at that time for the cup of tea, at that time, oh, patient go like that, he is suffering from like that, he has a history of exposure like that. You should not never divulge the secret things about the patient to your colleagues as well as to the public. It is unethical and against our professional ethics. But in certain circumstances, in detail we are going to learn. After that, there in examination also short note come on that what is privileged communication. There are certain circumstances you have to give this secret thing or you have to the authorized person, not to the public. So that is called as a privileged communication. It is the bona fide information given to the authority by a doctor for the benefit of the society as well as benefit of the patient. That is known as the privileged communication. And the next is about the prognosis. Doctor should tell whatever the real thing, not to exaggerate or not to minimize the prognosis. Again, patient must not be neglected. Same thing, you have to give a primary aid at least, and after that you can refer that patient. And in case of obstetric case, when a physician who has been engaged to attend an obstetric case is absent and another is sent for the delivery accomplished. If that physician afterwards comes from his work to his hospital, then whatever the physician who is on a locum basis should hand over the case to the original physician. He should not take the charge of that patient. So that are the different ethics, etiquettes we have to follow. In today's lecture, we have concentrated on two important duties, that is duties and responsibilities of a doctor in general and duties of a physician to their patient. So duties of a physician to their patient, that obligation to seek, he has to give the treatment. If the treatment is not, if the doctor feels that he needs the tertiary care treatment or specialist treatment, he can refer that patient to the tertiary care. Second, most important, should always keep confidentiality about the secrets of a patient should not divulge to the colleagues as well as to the society, but under a certain circumstances, he has to give that information to the authority for the benefit of public and the patient. That is known as privileged communication. That in next lectures we are going to learn in details. Third, the prognosis should be told to the patient or his near relative and should not be exaggerated or minimized. Again, patient must not neglected. Patient must be attended. And in case of obstetric case, if you are acting as a locum, do your duty as a locum. Afterwards, you have to hand over that patient to the original obstetrician. So in today's lecture, we have learned about the rights of a registered medical practitioner, highlighted on the rights, and in depth we learned about the duties of a registered medical practitioner. They are broadly divided into the 5 categories. Out of that 5 categories, we have learned about the duties in general and duties of a physician to their patient. In next lecture, we are going to learn remaining 3 broad duties. Afterward, rights and duties will be get over, and from that, what are the different unethical acts? What do you understood by the word professional misconduct? What is negligence and consent, and some other acts we are going to learn. Again, stay home and be safe. Take care of yourself and your family. And I end this lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.